Welcome to a special edition of the Rhody Reporter. I'll be your host for this segment, Mark Zakaria. The topic is a statistical analysis of the nationwide interest in new gun control legislation. Let's get right to the numbers. There are 30,000 gun-related deaths per year in America, and this number is not disputed. U.S. population is 324,059,091. Do the math. 0.00925% of the population dies each year from firearms-related events. Statistically speaking, this is insignificant. What is never told, however, is a breakdown of those 30,000 deaths to put them in perspective as compared to other causes of death. 65% of those deaths are by suicide, which many contend would never be prevented by any laws. 15% are by law enforcement in the line of duty. 17% are through criminal activity, gang and drug-related or mentally ill persons, real spontaneous gun violence. 3% are accidental discharge deaths. So technically, gun violence is not 30,000 annually, but 17% of that are somewhere around 5,100. Still too many. First, though, let's look at where those deaths occurred across the nation. In the last full year of statistics, 480 homicides, 9.4%, happened in Chicago. 344 homicides, 6.7%, happened in Baltimore. 333 homicides, 6.5%, happened in Detroit. 119 homicides, 2.3%, happened in Washington, D.C. So basically, 25% of all gun crime happens in just 4 cities. All 4 of those cities already have strict gun control laws, so the lack of law is not the root cause. This basically leaves 3,825 for the entire rest of the nation, or about 75 deaths per state per year. That's an average because some states have much higher rates than others. For example, California had 1,169 homicides in the reporting period, while Alabama had 1. Now, who has the strictest gun laws by far? California, of course. But you need to first understand it's not the guns causing these homicides. It's a crime rate spawned by the number of criminal persons residing in those cities and states. So, if all cities and states are not created equal, then there must be something other than the equipment behind these gun deaths. Are 5,100 deaths per year horrific? How about in comparison to other deaths? All death is tragic, especially when it comes in the commission of a crime. But that is the nature of crime. Robbery, murder, rape, and assault are all done by criminals. And thinking that criminals will suddenly begin to obey laws because they are newly enacted is ludicrous. That's why they're called criminals. But what about other deaths each year? 40,000 plus die from drug overdose. There is no excuse for that. We've outlawed drugs in the strictest terms for decades. 36,000 people die per year from the flu, far exceeding the criminal gun deaths. 34,000 people die per year in traffic fatalities, exceeding gun deaths even if you include suicide. The teenagers marching to get rid of guns are the same teenagers who are texting and driving and killing far more than firearms. Oh, now it gets good. 200,000 plus people die each year and growing from preventable medical errors. So, are you safer in Chicago's South Side than you are in a hospital? 710,000 people die per year from heart disease. It may be time to stop the spread of McDouble cheeseburgers. Why bring up preventable cardiac and blood vessel diseases? Because if the anti-gun movement focused their attention on heart disease, even a 10% decrease in cardiac deaths would save twice the number of lives annually of all gun-related deaths, including suicide, law enforcement, and everything else. A 10% reduction in medical errors would be 66% of the total gun deaths, or 4 times the number of criminal homicides. Simple, easily preventable 10% reductions. You have to ask yourself, in the grand scheme of things, why the focus on guns? It's pretty simple. Taking away guns gives control to governments. I'm talking to you, Venezuela. Aussies, beware. The founders of this nation knew that regardless of the form of government, those in power may become corrupt and seek to rule as the British did in the 18th century by trying to disarm the people of the colonies. It is not difficult to understand that a disarmed populace is a controlled populace. Thus, the Second Amendment was proudly and boldly introduced in the U.S. Constitution. It must be preserved at all costs. So, the next time someone tries to tell you that gun control is about saving lives, look at these facts and remember the words from Noah Webster. Quote, "Before a standing army can rule, the people must be disarmed, as they are in almost every kingdom in Europe. The supreme power in America cannot enforce unjust laws by the sword because the whole body of the people are armed and constitute a force superior to any band of regular troops that can be on any premise raised in the United States. A military force at the command of Congress can execute no laws but such as the people perceive to be just and constitutional, for they will possess the power." Unquote. Remember, when it comes to gun control, the important word is control, not gun. These numbers were compiled from the book Fire Congress by I.S. Pettius. The script is summarized from an editorial written by Jack Aden of Westminster, South Carolina, and used by permission.